we're gonna continue with our startup/youth track for the conference. I just put up the hashtags here. Make sure you're tweeting, Instagramming, Facebooking. If you are doing that, make sure you use these two hashtags so we can share with the rest of the world what's happening here. We are potentially reaching out to 12 countries from here. So let's leverage that, all right? So session one, we finished with a really interesting discussion within our groups, right? We really talked about the three main questions. So, and we have the three leaders up here. I think I have your papers here. Make sure they're yours. And if you would grab your papers, and I would like our leaders here to take 1 minute each and really to summarize what they were able to find out after talking to three groups, okay? So we all know what we came up with as a room here, all right? Should we start with, all right. You want to start? All right, Elisha, introduce yourself. Where are you from? What do you do? And what question was your question, okay? You remember that?
Hi, my name is Elisha. I'm from Singapore, Tech in Asia. So my question was open source versus IP. So it's like a kind of like a debate-ish kind of question. So on my paper here, you can see I pretty much separated the question into two parts, like for OS and for IP. So most of the notes are actually not on the paper, so I'm just going to read it out. So why open source is good is because it's very community driven. Like you can tap on the knowledge of the community, and they can actually sort of like help you do your stuff. And you don't have to. What is good is that you can build on what other people have already done. So some of our team members think that open source is more suitable for small breakthrough. Like you haven't found a cure for cancer, but you might be on your way, so you just open source it so that other people can contribute it to the solution. Something that it is a faster way of getting things done, but it could be a race to the bottom in terms of making money because your solution is open to everybody to use them. But there's also like a counter argument going that you can be creative on how you make money. An example of a company is Moodle. So what they do is they give the software is free, but what they do is they package it with content and they sell it. So they make money by the content instead. Some companies open source it to get traction. So even though the source code is really terrible, because they open source it, there's a lot of traction, they can get investment from that. Or they can sell like consultation slots. So like open source is sort of like a hook to get people in. Yeah, so the last point is that somebody mentioned that open source might not be so suitable for ASEAN region because we have a lot of e-commerce. That really isn't much innovation in terms of software. So the value is more on the operations and the branding side. So there isn't really a value to IP your stuff. So for IP, so first of all, it's definitely like a stream for revenue. An example is Microsoft owning a lot of IP, Android's IP, so they make a lot of money from that. And because of this potential revenue stream, it is a very good incentivize for inventors. An example is MedTech. You don't want to spend so much time and your own money, your own effort to create something that someone else can steal it really quickly. So having the IP, that protection, and hence the revenue stream that comes on, it's a plus point. So some of the team members said, okay, IP is a way to go if you want to make money. Or if you have a big breakthrough, like you found a cure for cancer, you immediately want to IP it because you don't want to let other people have it. So there was this interesting observation that someone was saying that you go open source if you want to create impact. You go IP if you want to create money. But someone also mentioned that you can also create an impact even though you have IP protection. So some questions that were pretty unanswered is how can IP have a great impact in the community or the society. And yeah, I think that's the main question. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Well, was that too long?
Yes. Yeah. We're gonna
Oh,
time it.
okay. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Good job. Thank you very much. All right. Yes, thank you.
Okay, my name is Esther. I'm an IP lawyer from ISW Legal IP. You can Google ISW Legal IP to know more about what we do. But basically, I'm here to explain why is IP important for startups. I start off because I know there are a lot of myths and people in startup companies, they don't really value IP and they think, okay, IP is like an after effect. But why is IP not important to some of the startup businesses? And the answer is that, people can copy my work easily or whatever that I do. So I don't think, I don't think I should even spend money to protect when people can copy my work easily. Second point is that they feel that it's expensive to protect. The value of paying lawyer fees, people like me, is expensive to protect and also to enforce. For example, if you do have an IP, someone infringes your IP, and then you as a startup may not be able to afford, enforcement to fight against these people who infringes your IP. But then I reverse it and say, okay, if, for example, if you were to ask is my 1 minute up? Okay. Okay, why is IP important, basically? To protect your ideas, it depends on the industry. You have to identify what are the IP that is important and you need to protect them. Not all need to file a patent because patent is the most expensive one. Brand is something very common on all startups, and I think that's very important to protect your brand before you begin pitching to your investors. It creates ownership. It gets you higher chances of getting funding from angel investors and government grants, because if people want to invest in you, they would want to see whether you have any protection, or if you are, your business in patents, they want to see whether your invention is novel or not. So that's the gist of it. The rest you can find it out on the website.
Good. Thank you. And the website is?
And the website.
Okay, I can go now. Okay. I'm Mike. I'm from Bangkok. All right, I'm going to give you a really quick overview of what our question was, which was basically, what are some of the IP strategies of some of the companies in your countries, your respective countries? So we did compare, or we had some people talk about what's going on, but what was quite interesting was the patterns that were kind of reoccurring. So one thing that came up was the cultural implications of IP. In some countries, it's just not widely, I want to say accepted, but it just wasn't that big of a deal at this phase, or at least early stage growth. In other countries, it was. So, for example, in the Philippines, it's they're a little bit more cognizant or aware that you need to have some kind of IP strategy early on. But in Brunei, they're not. Couple other things that came up. IP usually became an issue with early stage startups as a reactionary measure. So if there was some issue where you had two co-founders maybe splitting and starting their own initiatives, there might need to be some kind of agreement or consideration of who owned the intellectual property at that point. So it's more reactionary. We did a little continuum here to just show from the different countries that were represented what the awareness is. I don't know if you can see that. We'll maybe put that on the website as well. But this kind of goes back to what I mentioned. Singapore being kind of the gold standard, they're essentially trying to develop an emergence asset class for intellectual property. What else? We did another continuum on the ease of IP in the individual countries, just using trademark as an initial kind of reference. And there's a lot of variability in the different countries throughout the region. It can be very cheap, like in Thailand, it's like $30 to do a trademark, can take 6 months, whereas in Malaysia it's a lot more and can take a lot longer. So there's a lot more here, but if anybody is interested, they can just ask.
Thank you.
All right, very good, guys. So, questions, comments? You want to add something on it? Leaders might have not covered that was interesting in your groups. That was the result of you guys discussing around those 3 questions, right? 15 minutes each. You had really good discussion, and that was kind of what we came up with. Any questions or comments or anything you want to add to that? So hopefully what's going to happen is that we're going to ask these guys to help us consolidate all that information, and we'll post it on our Facebook group so people can learn about it more, and also on the website that we're about to launch. Yeah? Yes?
One comment on the whole IP discussion is, my view is, we should segregate the IP between trademark, the actual patent, and the logos, so the trademark and logos are, I think, is applicable to all countries. The regulation is pretty straightforward and is bread and butter of any startups. So the landscape on that should not vary much, and that can be part of one thing in the on the intellectual property side or the patent side, that's where things get complicated, right? And that's where I think the different countries are at different level of maturity and growth. So probably when we are putting up the whole IP thing on the website, we need to be very clear on maybe landscape of where each country is on different points. So that would really help us. Otherwise, the first reaction when I hear of IP, I think of patent.
Anybody agree, disagree with him? Where are you from?
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, FI, right? Founders Institute.
Right.
Somebody's got to disagree with him.
I think it's more a matter of, this is very knowledge-based, so it's more a matter of understanding and classifying the conversation we had and breaking it into topics that now can lead to solving a problem. So we have specificities per country when it comes to patent. And then trademark logo maybe is more universal, simpler of a topic to be managed. But then we also have the problem of awareness, which is one of the problems that is even before that of just people understanding IP, which is one of the problems I heard. Another problem would be simply within countries, how is the awareness, and across countries, how is the awareness about the problem of IP. So what are the issues that you guys didn't listen being addressed here from the conversations you guys had? Anything that you think that this afternoon we should solve, we should talk about, that was not addressed by the 3 of them? Is there anything that comes up? Yep.
Yeah, since this is an Asian wide discussion, can we kind of drive the government in how to speed up this kind of copyright or maybe the brand registration, maybe cheaper way or faster way, instead of taking 1 year,
Anything else?
Yeah.
Just in response to that, I might not get up because I might not be able to get back now. I think the biggest problem with the length of time is because of all the conventions that they sign to internationally, and that can sometimes go from 1 year to 3 years to 5 years. And it depends on whether your country has that convention signed to, whether they sign to those conventions or not, and whether you want that international protection. And I think a lot of local registration offices, they allow you to have local protection like early on, I think, and then maybe international protection later on. I don't know about your
Isn't that patent pending? More at least from a patent perspective.
I think it depends on what conventions you sign to. So for instance, like I know in Brunei, we're not even with Madrid yet. Whereas that would be, and so if you want to do that, we'd actually have to file a separate patent, or a separate patent. Whereas I think we're with the Hague, and so with that, it's automatic patent pending.
Oh. So one of the things I believe that we definitely should talk about when we talk about having a website which is ASEAN is about awareness. I believe many of us don't really know what are the regulations that apply specifically to one country, which are the ones that apply more universally, that are regulated by international bodies. So I'm just giving this wrap up so that we jump into a speaker now, and then we follow on with discussions. The other thing I heard about is lots about convenience. I'm just taking convenience as a word, which is an umbrella for anything related to the price. It's expensive to patent, it's expensive to sue somebody, we don't want to do it because actually it's not feasible for me as a startup. Not the issue that needs to be addressed. And the other thing is like something Elisha touched point on it, which is industry specific. Like some industries, maybe pharmaceuticals, they require a different approach, which is more principle oriented regarding patenting something. When you're talking about some solution that say like, we found the cure for cancer, so how do we manage that? How do we commercialize that? Is a monopoly better to develop it, or is it open source better to develop solutions in that? So we also need to define solutions per industry, per country, and per kind of patent, I believe. So keep that in mind. We're going to follow on with discussions trying to narrow it down to questions that are very specific or recommendations that are very specific to put up in the website. The point of the day is not coming up with solutions, but with good questions. And move on with that. The guys who are the leaders will probably be helping us to consolidate all the conclusions from these discussions. The point is that we come up with very, very good questions today. So without anything else, I'm going to give it back to Oko, who's going to introduce the next speaker.
By the way, you guys know who this is?
No.
This is Lais. She's the regional director for Asia Pacific,
Africa, and Middle East.
There you go, for Startup Grind. So she was busy earlier on doing a call with US and some other countries probably. 1/3 of the
and
world.
Also, must recognize, also community ambassador for Magic, Malaysian government agency. Malaysian Global Innovation. Magic Lais.
She'll be with us too, so make sure we talk. So speaking of which, we still have a lot of questions. Session 1 was about really just getting this bigger picture questions revealed and understanding, dissecting as much information from the countries as possible. And I think our next speaker was Megha Anand from CAS International. She's a patent executive. I just kind of ran to her during the lunch, and I asked her to come around and share some of Malaysian experiences for startups in terms of patent. So she can probably give us some little more answers on this. And then after that, we'll go back to World Cafe style. Cool? All right.
Thank you so much. Like he said, he just pulled me in lunch and said, can you speak something about startups here? So I'm just clueless, but I'll give you my experience regarding startups. So recently, like we say, awareness is a big issue here. Most startups aren't aware of what kind of IP rights do they have. So we have clients coming in daily and asking us, I'm a startup, we are low on funds, initial funds, but now the trend is moving towards being IP aware. I'll give you an example here. We have a client, maybe you've seen, the local people have seen in newspapers. It's Geob International. It's a startup company, a sole person actually conceived an idea of making a device which will trigger alerts when a person is suffering through something like a heart attack or hypoglycemia, which is a level beyond diabetes. So he's an individual inventor, and he approached us saying, I want to make it right. I want to get the IP in place and then launch my product. So though he didn't have funds, he came to us. We did the right steps, that is, first identify what is the IP in his idea. Is there a patent right or no? Is it a trade secret? It has a trademark been formed or no? So eventually we helped him identify a patent for the device itself and then a trademark, and then he went on to launch his product with a patent application pending. And now he's at a stage where he's looking at protecting his products in the market which are of interest to him. So he's already filing applications in US, EP, Australia, where are his markets. So even though companies are startups, you have government funds, you have investors which could help you. Like a person as individual as him, he could come so far, and he's branding his product in so many countries. So for startups, it's just about being IP aware and taking the first step in. Just jump in and do IP along with your business strategies, and that's the way to make your intangible assets. It's very important to build not only patent rights, trademark is equally a good right, then you see whether you have designs in your, it could be a product, it could even be your user interfaces which technology companies make, like your web pages. There could be copyright. So it's about holistically developing your IP portfolio, which is very important. And these IP rights are automatically created. You don't have to put an effort saying, oh, how do I create it? When you are developing a business plan, IP rights are automatically generated. It's up to you to identify and protect them by registering. So I think the way forward for startups should be to be IP aware and not shy with the cost part, because the cost part you will definitely find somebody to push you up and put you through. And with so many international treaties now, you can actually extend your time to protect globally your IP and make it a very global portfolio. So it's a very positive thing I wanted to share. I'm open for questions if you have any. Okay, none?
Are there any pre-established like regional IT networks like they have in Europe, where you see this international, like is there anything else?
They have the aspect here, which is the Southeast Asian countries, wherein they help you share examination results between countries. For example, if you file a patent in Malaysia or Singapore first, and then you want to file in other Asian countries, if a patent is granted in Malaysia, it could be granted in that country as well. So you're saving a cost by not starting the examination process all again. So Aspect gives you the ability to have a faster patent grant in all the 7 collaborating countries.
So that's just patent, but like from a startup perspective, it's probably more concerned with like trademark.
So trademark per se, there's not such body yet. It's more towards patent rights, because patent rights are per se more expensive than trademark. A trademark locally would cost you some thousands initially, and it's filed. And it's not per se time sensitive, because trademark can be also acquired by use, but patent rights have to be new. So the newness aspect in patents is very important. So there are more bodies around patents because the cost is much higher than compared to trademarks. And copyright being automatic, so that does not require you to per se register. So the major concentration of treaties we see is around patents. Trademark is Madrid, but also countries are considering whether they should or shouldn't be a party to it yet. Especially Malaysia is still not a party to it. They're still considering whether Madrid would be good for the country or not. So, yeah. Is that the answer? No problem.
Yes, we had some discussion a while ago on the timing. So when should a startup think about copyright and patents? And what's the cheapest route to get those two? Because cost is a huge issue for early stage companies. They can't afford either lawyers or even the patent.
See, you don't need lawyers per se for filing intellectual property. You could yourself also go. So that's the thing. But you need lawyers because patent specifications have to be drafted in a particular manner in order to protect things. So that's about it. Going to the timeline, when do you start? Creation of IP starts the minute you have a plan in mind. So it goes hand in hand. So while one team is going on the business aspects, one team has to look into the IP aspects. I'm from the software industry domain. So when you start software, I'm seeing you again here. I'm sorry. So when it comes to software per se, when you start doing your diagrams, your algorithms, that's the time you start creating IP for software. It's as initial as that. So your patent rights come in at the initial. Once you're branding your product, you already have a trade name. The trademark comes at that time. So IP comes at the time for technology, it comes at the beginning itself. You don't have to wait for a success story to start thinking of IP, because the basic crux of IP is that the thing has to be new. When is it new? It's new before it's launched. So IP has to come first to maintain the newness of everything.
Is this Q&A session going on? Yeah? Any questions, guys?
High profile patent case, yeah. There was one, but I cannot recall. Can you recall something? Because I'm actually an Indian working in Malaysia, so yes, it's a mix of backgrounds. Do you recall any? I remember there was only one. It was for I can't remember the parties, but it was regarding the drainage technology, wherein it was infringement of rights. I can't remember the part. Maybe I can tell you later. I'll come tell you later. Okay, yes. Let's move them around.
Can you tell one aspect of patent IP against traditional knowledge and cultural expression?
Right.
Yeah, there's something that we can share, especially with the potential, their growth potential of traditional knowledge, especially in the context of
because ASEAN has a lot of traditional knowledge in terms of medicinal herbs because of rainforests. So per se, traditional knowledge is being protected so that it's mostly said the Western countries should not take away your knowledge and use it to file patent applications and take rights and exploit it. That's why countries are going towards making databases and wealth of their own natural wealth, be it in terms of medicinals or medicinals of herbs or any kind of raw material which could be used by any other country, and they make their own IP right out of it. So there's something called as the Biodiversity Treaty, which countries are looking into, wherein if suppose the X company from outside is using the Malaysian herbs or Indonesian herbs to make a medicine for something, to cure something, they could do that as long as they pay the government money to use those herbs. So that's why a biodiversity treaty is called the CBD, the Convention on Biodiversity, which is really picking up because they want to make a database of all traditional knowledge so that if it is exploited, the country is remunerated fairly, so you're paid back fairly for it. So that's called TDK, Traditional Knowledge Databases. Like India has one, so that cases like the turmeric and the basmati were averted because they could show enough proof that this actually belongs to India and it's known and it's not new and hence it cannot be patented.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
It looks like she's going to give away a lot more information if you talk to her person to person. She's not going to give us any answer up here. No, I'm kidding. All right, so are you guys ready? We're ready for World Cafe number 2 now.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. So it's just after lunch. So I suggest you guys, do you guys need to stand up, stretch a little bit, or are you cool? Is the beanbag too comfortable for you? Okay, so the advantage of being a collective intelligence-driven session is that we will be proactively talking now. And I know it's after lunch and it's a bit hard, but the goal of the afternoon session is that we actually get some solutions or some next steps to be done. So the guys might have told that before. I was not here, but I might just repeat that we are not IP experts here. And that's the whole point. The whole point is bring people who are in the grassroots and people who are either startup founders themselves. Ourselves, where most of us startup founders or employees working very closely to one. And most of us, or all of us, we are natural or by profession community builders. And that means we have a network of people who are building startups. And the point is that when it comes from Esther about IP, she knows all the shit about it. But the problem is that when it gets to the people who are building stuff, many times we are so focused on building a solution that we are not caring about it. The point of bringing community builders through the room is that you guys can capitalize on your networks to ask them things that you might not know. So do you guys all have internet connection here? Yeah? So make sure that if we ask any questions you're not sure about, don't restrain it to your group. You have enough people in a group to have someone Googling or contacting people or asking a question on Facebook. We really want to capitalize on the fact you're all network builders and you're all dots in a network of people. So does that make sense? So capitalize on the networks you have. We want to get the feedback from the grassroots, but we are bringing in experts here in Pills to really have an overview of what they've done. So we got here a very good talk from Earl, from IdeaSpace before. Just the talk right now was a bit more technical, but also very enlightening on things we are maybe clueless about. And we have some people in the room who have a bit more of knowledge than we do, like Esther and like person from Bangladesh. What's your name? Sajid. Awesome. And I feel that some people in the room really got some good knowledge to apply. So let's really use this collective intelligence. So straight to the point. We adapted questions from what you saw you guys talked about. The first session was to really identify what are the biggest issues. And we concluded that there are two major issues in ASEAN. One, and no doubt, is awareness. Startups are just kind of clueless. Most times we think it's not important or we don't know about IP. The second is about price, convenience, feasibility, however you call it, is the fact that even if I find it's important, I have too much concern to just already get my leads and pay for lead and pay to get my product and build an MVP. I'm not freaking paying for IP. I don't have money. It's expensive, or I'm not going to sue anyone. And I don't know how, I don't know. So it's basically about the convenience. Price might be just one of them, but we want to talk about what are the roadblocks for people to finally register their patent or register their brand or their logo. The third thing would be just how can us as a group come up with something together which is related to the website. It can be a document of recommendations, it can be a questions, it can be a project that we want to move on. By the end of the next session, we want to come up with suggestions from us on what can we actually do with the resources we have, with the people we have here, to try to move one step forward in this current state where basically people are not really aware about IP. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any different suggestion about the outcome you want to get out of today? Yeah.
Everybody's
when
sleepy.
I say IP, you say E. Okay. No, sorry. Okay. No. Okay. So we're going to start. The dynamic is going to be the following. Hello, Zoe. Hello, Alan. You're late.
Guys, join the group. We're about to start work.
Okay. So we are going to keep the leaders from the previous session. Do you guys want to keep hosting it? Perfect. Okay, Elisha, Esther, fine to be the hosts. So here's the dynamic. Word Cafe is a dynamic invented to allow a team of 100 people to discuss. Guys, you are in the limbo.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Zoe, you're joining that? Yeah, sure. Alan, you're joining that group? This group. Yeah. Joey, you're joining that group? This one? Yes.
Okay. Okay, guys, so I bring your attention here. The idea of Word Cafe is that the host rotates, and now what we're going to do is we're going to ask one question. Mike is going to write down everything this group talks about regarding that question. Star is going to write down everything you talk about here, and Elisha is going to write about everything they talk about there. Second question, they rotate, and everyone answers to the same question at the same time. The idea is that then Mike updates this group about what this group talked about, and Star updates that group about the conversations we had here, and so it goes, in a way that by the third question, you all know the outputs of each other's conversations, because the host is answering to the same question and moving around. Does that make sense? So, with no further ado, let's go to the first question, which is just, there you go. How can we make sure startups are aware of the importance of IP? So bring it down to action. What do you need? What would they read? What do they know? How do they get the knowledge? Where is the knowledge? I don't know. Come up with very concrete solutions for awareness within 15 minutes. So make sure it's fast, make sure it's effective, it's not much time. Come up with solutions of things we could do to make sure awareness problem is solved. 15 minutes.
Magic Central. So that will actually list down all the resources that you need to run a startup in Malaysia. So that part of legality, human resources, IP, and all these kind of topics. Yeah, so we have the resources. And of course, we're going to launch that by end of the year under the ACE Center of Entrepreneurship. That's to encourage everyone from the ASEAN region to come and invest in Malaysia.
One is having the data available in a website,
yes,
which I'm sure has the output.
Popular participants in the
forward. So we're talking about well, that's what we keep focusing on. So we work with vision. They'll definitely go on
practical perspective. Who's going to push it? If you don't know you need it, you're not going to go there. So who's going to bring it?
And then increase the awareness, funnel, and then from there we funnel then it always
Those are things that normally start with. I mean, I don't know if you guys have
We do have, I'm speaking from my industry point of view, we do have a network of associates that we work with in different countries. So if we are able to get questions from then maybe I can take those questions to my associates and try to answer as many questions and collate them. And then collate those I think also there's only this reality like, oh, IP lawyers just technical, you guys are just technical, we are just technical. There's always this mindset is the bias.
Because this is the first step.
If we know what we do, we are going to find out, right?
Like having a language like going global, right? It's how replicable your
this is where the disconnect.
If you can't replicate it, then there's no point, right? Like growth is going to happen. So,
I mean, someone else replicating it?
No, I mean like
protection.
No. In terms of like if you want to scale, right? So if you want to scale, like investors always want something that's scalable, right?
So we're increasing awareness about maybe I'm not following.
Because as you grow, you're going to have more people.
You expand any current frequency of IP protection. Because you're
From a market entry competitive standpoint, I think if you're able to tell a market that your product is patented or protected,
specific actions. I mean, where are people?
Okay, we have 5 more minutes for this question.
They're in the local competition.
Start converging. Only 5 more minutes.
Okay, so they're in the local competitions. They're in the telco accelerators that all of our countries have. They're in the meetups. They're in the startup weekends.
The magic, that's where you can play a role. It's not there, like in Indonesia, there is nothing like that. Central law. But the good thing about magic is that all the startup programs running, you can actually tell them that, you need to bring topic IP approach.
No, but I agree with your point that IP has to be a part of a curriculum because nobody would know trademark patents when they start a business. So if it's taught as a part of your graduation program, you already know that there is some value generated. So you don't have to, so like for you could have approached the patent office directly and said, I have an idea, how do I go about it? And they as a body would guide you to the right people. So if you were taught this in universities as a subject, you would know more about it, how to use it once you graduate.
You should learn something from the Chinese. They have the most number of applications.
Right now they are anything. Because IP is not
This trend in some of the advanced countries, like UK. So these legal firms, they do free consultation for startups, like for first 3 or 4 consultations. So after that, yeah. Well, I don't find that happening here. Yeah.
Tell me the short state
I can provide this now, right?
You provide?
So now we want to bridge the gap between startups.
Infringement protection.
design a web for this field?
It's kind of mobile ambulance vehicle.
And then the government copied it without
And it lost half of the ingredient or the cost of the legal
Now we think e-commerce is very common, so everyone is doing e-commerce, but in fact, in 10 years before, e-commerce is a new idea. Someone invented it. So but right now everyone is using e-commerce as a platform.
I don't think it's so much authority.
So
the IP of the idea is just
we are trying to raise awareness about stuff what kind of IP that should wear when they're going further on their stuff. So if you are a tech startup, there's few things that you want to wear. Trademark is for every and I think along the way, the journey, the experience
the strengths of the brands that startups have may not whether it's distinctive enough to use brands so we can wear shorts to the they don't have the knowledge that the brands great. That's the kind of confidence I need. Yeah. Anything else? Did you all get anything else from this?